Welcome to the Step by Step podcast by Hidden Strength. We really hope you enjoy this episode.
Hi Josh.
Hi Harry.
Lovely to meet you.
You too.
So you're an entrepreneur.
Yes.
Okay, so do you want to start at the beginning of that and kind of, I am a performer, so you know that life to me as an entrepreneur and a businessman is very new to me. I don't have much experience in that.
Yeah.
So do you want to start at the beginning of your journey to make your business?
Yeah, so I never thought I'd be an entrepreneur. It wasn't like I was a kid and I was like, I'm going to be an entrepreneur and I'm going to run businesses. I never had that kind of dream. I just loved fashion from a young age and I just wanted to get into the fashion industry. I don't know if you've ever watched the show The Hills, but I was a big fan of The Hills and I used to see Whitney and Lauren working in Teen Vogue and I was like, I want to be that. So I grew up in Peterborough, which is a city in Cambridgeshire.
Yeah.
Not far from London, but obviously when you're at school, London seems like a million miles away. So I felt really outside of the fashion industry and I was just desperate to get to London and work in fashion. So I got into university, I did photography. I did that for 3 years at university in London. It was a great time of my life because actually I got to explore myself personally, professionally, and it was whilst I was doing photography that I was really interested in fashion photography. And my tutor one day half told me off, half was kind of like, okay, well, you're more interested in what the model's wearing than the actual photography. And I was like, yes, you're right.
That is true.
So to his dismay, because it wasn't a very great thing for the course, but it was good for me because I learnt that actually I was really interested in the styling side.
So you learnt the route that you wanted to go down.
Yes.
You were like, okay, let's...
And I think that's important because if you go to university, don't just be stuck on the subject that you're doing. You can pivot. That's the whole point of university, is to explore who you are and what you want to do. When you're at 17 and you're being asked to make a decision, you've got no life experience. So don't feel any pressure, on yourself to have the end goal set out at that age. It's just impossible.
True.
So,
and sometimes you get onto the course, like you said, and you think it's one thing, but it's completely different. And okay, do you know what? That's fine. I'll go down a different route then.
Absolutely.
Okay, nice.
Yeah.
So then, when you left university, you carried on doing photography or mostly retail?
No. So when I left university, I carried on working in retail.
Okay.
And it was actually whilst I was working in retail, that it wasn't luxury retail, it was All Saints.
Okay, nice.
Yeah. And I had repeat customers coming into the store and I was very enthusiastic. I would be like, let me help dress you and style you. And they really loved it. So much so they actually said to me, I want you to take me shopping outside of your job.
Wow.
And at that point, I never even considered personal shopping. It wasn't really a thing.
Yeah.
I knew there was stylist, but stylist in my eyes was just celebrity stylist.
True.
It wasn't actually like regular everyday people. So I ended up taking these customers shopping outside of my work. Loved it. I was getting paid to take them shopping. I was thriving. They were really happy. And I said to myself, this is what I want to do. And I actually did work with celebrities and I did assist stylists working with people in the public eye media, but I always felt more satisfaction with working with regular people because they were just far more excited about it and I felt more rewarded with working with these people.
A little bit more of a human touch.
Yes.
Having... They were kind of, not saying celebrities aren't, but kind of down on real world, you're having normal conversations with people.
Absolutely.
Okay, I love that.
Yeah.
Did you find that where you are now and where you were as being a stylist in your 20s, let's say, you were paid the same rate or, were you paid fairly to...
Oh, no, I charged them like £100 to take them shopping for the day. I mean, it was just starting out.
Okay,
so
nice.
£100 at the time felt like a lot of money for me.
Okay,
so,
cool.
I was just doing it to gain the experience. And to me, I thought I was winning. £100 take someone
amazing.
Shopping for the day sounded amazing. So,
and did that kind of... So you did that for a few years, or...?
Did it for a very short while. So after uni, working in retail, I'm sure a lot of people can relate to this. It doesn't make you much money at all. And living in London was so expensive. So I ended up moving back to Peterborough, living with my parents and working in an office job, doing something completely different. And I did that for 4 years.
Okay.
And then when I was 26... I said to myself, I really want to go back to London and get back into fashion because I really want to pursue my dream job in personal shopping. I don't want to just continue this office job. It's not making me happy or fulfilling me. I've got something about me that I really want to go for my dreams.
Okay, that's amazing. Did you feel that when you were at home, you had that kickstart to be like, okay, I need to get back to it?
Yes.
And, you know, I've had the same experience where I've been at home for so long and I'm like, I'm itching to get back to where I want to be. And
I didn't
you know,
feel like I belonged in that city. I didn't like my hometown very much. I was like, I want to get the hell out of here.
Truly. And also as an openly gay person, you know, behind and sitting in an office job, you're not really your authentic self.
No one around me was like-minded. I mean, actually, to the later stages of that job, I had a really lovely manager and colleagues, super lovely people.
Okay, nice.
But, you know, I wanted to go on and do bigger, better things. Actually, they were so nice to me because they really supported me, which not many people do.
No, they don't.
No.
So tell me about how you set up your own business. How did you go from kind of... You lived at home for 4 years, kind of doing a job that you didn't really want to do. How did you kind of kickstart that for yourself to be like, okay, this is it?
There was a big company in London, and I was itching to go on and work with them. I didn't have enough experience, so I ended up saying, well, I'll come and work for you for free. So with that job I was doing in Peterborough, I would have every Monday off, and I'd commute down to London to work for this company for free, and then make up my hours the rest of the week for the other company. So you can see I had a very supportive manager.
Nice.
They were letting me go and try and follow my dreams, basically. At the end of this kind of internship with this company, they did offer me a full-time job, which I was very happy about. I was moving back to London, back to the big city, so I was so happy and ecstatic. 6 weeks in, they let me go. They said, actually, we don't want you anymore. It's not working out. So I had no idea I was about to embark on this journey where I still am now. You know, I was really upset. I thought, oh, this is devastating news. What am I going to do now? I'm just going to have to get any old job, basically, just to live in London, you know, to survive.
Yeah, true.
My family and friends were like, no, this is your time to shine. You've got what it takes. Just because this company doesn't believe in you doesn't mean you can't do it. So I set up my own business.
Wow, okay.
And within 6 to 8 weeks, it was becoming profitable. And I was being able to pay my rent and do everything on my own.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Did you feel that, just going back slightly of, you know, unfortunately you kind of have to do things for free in, you know, the arts and kind of doing, you know, styling. You have to kind of have that yes to be like, okay, I'll do that for free for this time round. And it kind of gets you through the door.
Yeah.
So then when you started your own business, was this going back to clients you kind of already had, or like just starting completely fresh?
No, because even when the clients that I had when I was working in retail, that was 4 years prior, lost all contact with those.
Okay.
They weren't luxury clients anyway.
Yeah.
And then when I was working for this company, I wasn't a personal shopper. I wasn't even a personal shopping assistant. I was really low in the ranks. I had no contact with any clients. So I just started it from Instagram.
Wow, amazing.
In 2016, Instagram was really powerful. You could build a really good audience just from hashtags. And that's what I did.
Okay, amazing.
I just spent a lot of my time doing social media, focusing on what was trending, what people were looking for, and I built up a global audience, which basically carried me on till today.
Lovely. You had that dedication to be like, okay, this is what I want to do.
I was hungry.
Okay, amazing, because realistically you have to be.
It was never about the financials. It was just like, I want to do this. I want to do it. And I think also it gave me more power by people not believing in me, and it was a bit like, well, I'm gonna prove you wrong, like that kind of moment. Okay, like you made a mistake, but you did me a favour.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Okay, amazing. And then starting your own business. So you did that for obviously till now.
8 years now.
Wow, crazy. And have you found it really rewarding in that sense of? Okay,
massively. It's been really rewarding. It's matured me. It's humbled me. It's made me grow as a person. It's been the toughest, but also the most exciting times of my life.
Any highlights from what you've done?
Oh, so
I'm just
many.
Intrigued.
In a fashion sense, probably going to Chanel Hawk Tour was a big highlight.
Wow.
I mean, that is the top. You can't really beat going to a Chanel Hawk Tour show.
Literally.
And that was actually my first show.
Oh wow, okay.
Which is a bit ridiculous. So, but it was my first show. So I mean, now everything just is like, okay, well, I've done that. So.
Yeah, I've been there.
Yeah.
So any other business adventures that you are looking to do in, you know, you've been successful for 8 years and you're very happy in that.
Yeah.
Anything you want to explore and kind of pursue as, you know, as your business gets bigger?
Yeah.
You know, is there anything else that you kind of
Definitely.
thinking?
So 2 years ago, I started doing real estate because
Okay.
that was another passion of mine, and I saw a market with my clients because I have a global client base. So I wanted to expand it into helping my clients buy property in London,
Okay.
which is something I'm really passionate about and
Yeah.
actively doing now. But trying to take one step at a time, because obviously, you know, being an entrepreneur and having your own business comes a lot of responsibility. There's a lot of hard work involved. So it is one step at a time, because some of the most challenging parts of this is literally what we're talking about today, mental health, is just having a healthy balance with work and personal life.
True.
And with being an entrepreneur, you don't have the, I guess, the comfort of having managers or HRs or people around you
Yeah,
saying,
it's up
you
to
know,
you.
you've got annual leave to take, you
Yeah.
must take it, it's the law, you have to take some time off to look after yourself. I can just keep on working until I literally burn myself out. And
Okay.
you would think nearly 9 years later that I would have mastered that balance.
Yeah.
I haven't, because I always think I can keep on going.
It's something new for you to do, and you're like,
Yes.
okay, I'm gonna do that.
Yes.
How do you find, you know, is there a point where you have a burnout, or
Yes.
is there a point where you're like, okay,
It's recently, it's January, like literally a few
Literally.
weeks ago,
Okay,
I had to
love
take
it.
myself on a week holiday because I was at burnout.
Yeah, but you, I guess it's reward. It's, you know, you work so hard to get where you are.
Yeah.
And, you know, kind of a pinch me moment of like the person who sat in the office 9-10 years ago
Yeah.
would not think that I get to, you know, do this now for a job and be
Yeah.
successful in that.
Yeah.
What do you do, you know, as mental health wise to kind of maintain a healthy relationship with yourself and your business, and, you know, grow as a person, grow the business as what it is, but how do you find the balance? How do you do that?
I still struggle with it. I do still struggle with the balance. Usually it's my family
Okay.
telling me I need
Yeah.
to take some time off.
Yeah.
So
Okay,
I
nice.
listen to them. I think having a good support of friends and family really helps. I listen to my mum a lot. I listen to really good friends of mine. I try and take myself away somewhere and have a new scenery somewhere, a new environment.
Yeah, I love it.
Somewhere calm, away from all the chaos of London. A few years ago, I went to Thailand, and that was great because a lot of my business is, you know, it's luxury, it's materialism. So sometimes it's nice to go somewhere that's far away from that, just to
True.
kind of get yourself a bit more grounded,
Yeah,
back
yeah.
to reality.
Yeah, and then when you're ready to come back, you're like, okay,
Yeah,
this is
just to
yeah.
relax, recharge your batteries,
Yeah.
see a different side of life, and then come back feeling stronger and refreshed. And ultimately, it's important for my clients as well because, you know, I'm not a machine, and
True.
in order for me to work my best, I have to be feeling my
Yeah,
best.
you do, and you have to be like very strong in what you,
Yes.
you know, in your thoughts and what you want to do.
Yes.
Speaking as a gay man, in that field of being an entrepreneur, did you find any, you know, challenges, any backlash from what you were doing against, you know, it's a very competitive market.
Yeah.
You know, I kind of grew up watching things like I was being like Emily and, you know, being, you know, Miranda Priestley, that kind of that kind of world, and that kind of seems very cliquey and somewhat bitchy.
Yes.
So did you find there was many difficult moments that you had creating that?
Interestingly, not as a gay man, but the industry is very female-led.
Okay.
So I guess that's always been something that I've been conscious about,
Yeah.
you know, because in fashion there is a lot of women. I know a lot of people would say a lot of creative directors are men,
Yeah.
but a lot of the people who are working in sales are women. So it's been navigating that. Sometimes there can be kind of catty environments.
Yeah.
So, you know, that's been a bit of a challenge that I've had to deal with as well. But I think being a guy and having a voice and having my own mission of what I can bring to the industry as a guy actually has worked in my favour, because a lot of the
Okay,
time
nice.
clients feel comfortable with me as a man
Yeah.
sharing things about themselves, and it's a different perspective they get from being a gay man as well. Makes them more comfortable.
True.
Because if they're sharing something very personal and intimate,
Yeah.
they may not want to be judged by another woman.
Yeah,
but
true.
actually being gay has actually helped me.
That's really good. Okay, that kind of shows you like how much of a, you know, I'm going to say a nice person you are, to be able to be like, okay, people have trust in me to share their experiences, or have trust
Yeah.
in you to kind of, you know, you're working as much as they're working for you and working for them, you know, it's a kind of a healthy
Yes.
balance between the two.
Yes.
Okay, nice. I was going to ask you more about kind of what advice would you give to someone who wants to start a business, or someone who, you know, you had that kind of thought at university. You went for one thing, you went for kind of found you want to do a different thing.
Yeah.
What advice would you give those kind of people who want to start their own business, who don't really know what they want to do? What would you say, and what would you give?
Gain some experience first, just in life. You know, don't rush into anything. I didn't rush into my business. I started it when I was 26, and regardless of how old you are, you can start anything at any time. It's just got to feel right for you, and you've really got to want it. So many people who I know come to me all the time and say, I want to start a business, I want to do this, but they don't actually want to come out of their comfort zone.
True.
I actually could not do what I did now because I have so much more to lose. But when I was 26, I had nothing to lose. But when you've got a mortgage and when you've got, you know, a nice, comfortable lifestyle, you have to be prepared to go broke for months.
Yeah, okay.
And not everyone is prepared to go broke. They're like, oh no, I don't actually want it that much.
Yeah.
I did want it that much. So
you had that drive.
I had the
drive. Do you feel like you always had that since before going to university? What kind of like kickstarted you? You know, you spoke about you lived not far away in Peterborough and coming down to London.
Yeah.
What kind of gave you, and what inspired you in your life to go into the route you've gone down? What made you think, I love fashion? What was that kind of kickstart? Anything in particular?
I've always just had something in me where I've wanted to achieve something, regardless of what it was. I've always wanted to be the best of what I'm doing, and I've always put a lot of pressure on myself to get to where I want to be.
Yeah.
So I knew I didn't want to be in my hometown anymore. I wanted to achieve something. I wanted to get into the fashion industry. I wanted to make something of myself. And I was, you know, going to do that at all costs, basically. And that's why I was prepared to go and work for someone for free.
Okay.
Because, like I said, it was never about the financials. It was about me getting to where I wanted to be. And sometimes when you want to get somewhere, you have to do things for free. You have to prove it to other people, to start climbing the ladder slowly to get where you want to be. So it's not easy starting a business, and you've really got to like what you do, because you can't do a business if you don't like it. For me, I always loved fashion. I found it incredible. It was a safe place for me. It was a place that I could be myself and express myself, help other people. The rewarding side of working with one-on-one clients was what I enjoyed the most.
And as a mental health wise, you know, your challenges now would be very different, and thinking as mental health is like what you do now is very different to when you had that first kind of work experience living in London, and you know, you kind of got turned away after 6 months. What was that mentally? And
nothing in comparison to what it's been since. I mean, it was obviously upsetting, but when you have your own business and you've got all the financial responsibility and you start doing really big sales and you're dealing with ultra high net worth clients and everything, if it goes wrong, it's all on you.
True.
That's when I started having panic attacks. That is when the anxiety came in. I was like, whoa, I'm playing with the big boys now.
True.
This is not, you know, this is a different...
I mean, it's a hard balance because it's good and bad, you know. It's good
if you
because
work for someone else and it goes wrong,
True.
the worst you'll get is fired. But if it goes wrong in your own company...
it's all on your end. So, And is that a lot of pressure?
Yes.
And, okay, I would imagine.
Massive amounts of pressure, especially when your company's your name.
Okay, even worse. Great.
They always say don't call your business your name, and I did that.
I mean, look at all the stylists in the time of, you know, it's the Gucci and the Versace and all that. It's always been their name. So you never know. That could be your name one day. And as kind of doing real estate, how has that worked with the economy that we live in, and has that had any, you know, challenges through that?
It's different challenges, but what I like about it the most, it's more social. Because with my personal shopping business now, it's more remote, and I'm talking to people on WhatsApp most of the time. So a lot of the time I'm isolated, I guess, from my clients. But real estate has enabled me to come together with my clients face to face, and that's what I love about it the most. It's a different challenge, but it's a challenge I actually really enjoy.
Okay, nice. Is it a different world from doing styling work, like completely, or do you find similarities of, you know, you can take what you've learned and your experiences and also your skills, because you have many skills, and you can apply them to both kind of jobs in that sense, and both businesses?
Yes.
Is there any major where you're like, okay, I need to work on this, or I need to, you know, I have to leave that at the door and, you know, that skill, and then I have to focus on another skill for the other job? Is there any in that where you have to, you know, kind of leave one, do one, and do you find the balance between your skill asset, or?
Yeah, I mean, they do overlap because it's still sales.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, the personal shopping now is sales. I don't really get involved too much in styling anymore. It's more about sourcing and recommending products to my clients.
Okay.
So with property, it's the same thing, really. It's sourcing and recommending properties to my clients, advising them on what's a good purchase and what's not. The new challenge that I'm doing now for myself this year is listing. So I'm actually going to be selling clients' properties rather than just buying. So that will be a new challenge in itself, which is very exciting. Yeah.
Any doubts for that? Any worries you're like, okay, I need to overcome, or anything that you could do personally that you could be like, okay, I'm going to overcome this challenge?
Definitely social media, because actually with real estate, it's really important to have a personal brand. So something I'm working on is being comfortable in front of the camera. It's very daunting to have a camera in your face and you having to talk about a property and try and sell that property. That is something that I'm...
you're overcoming.
Yes.
Yeah, okay, nice.
Yeah. Usually I'm quite behind the scenes.
Yeah.
So suddenly I'm now having to put myself really out there. So that is something that I'm working on.
But you speak which I've picked up on, very clearly, and you have a lot of thought behind what you say, which is an amazing thing. Have you always had that, and have you always had that kind of like throughout your life and throughout your experiences? And I can imagine you're probably really good at sales of, you know, you're very clear of what you want and what you want in life. It seems to be very clear in that sense, which is such a strong and amazing thing.
Thank you.
Has that ever been kind of thrown against you, or, you know?
Yeah, it did actually, because I've been very clear on what I want and what I want to achieve. And when I started the business, I was a different person. I was probably like a pest. Came across quite aggressive in the way that I wanted to get things done and what I wanted to achieve. You know, I had a different attitude back then. I've definitely become a lot more calmer. But when you're itching to get somewhere...
True, I was going to say that's probably, you know, you've been sat behind a computer screen for 4 years and you're like, okay, I'm ready to kind of get on a lot. Okay, nice. As in like styling wise, and anything that you kind of love, any kind of, when you had kind of growing up, was there things that you looked at, like any specific designers, or what did you take from, obviously you did photography, and then going to styling, kind of the same, because you have to have an eye for things, but kind of very different at the same time. You're not taking pictures, you're styling people. What did you kind of look for in that sense of like, okay, I know how to judge a person, I know what they want, I know
personality.
It
was just it was just chemistry, working with the person, what their personality is, and then what suited them and what made them feel good. And you know, I was very inspired by like Nick Knight, a photographer, and Solveig Sundsbo. They were very artistic. So in terms of styling, I loved kind of artistic and statement pieces. But obviously when I was working with, you know, real people, not celebrities, it was kind of giving them that edge, but in a wearable way. Something that uplifted them and made them excited, something that they wouldn't go into a store and actually pick up themselves, because they'd be like, oh, I don't know what to wear that with, and then I would come along and be like, I know with this, and they would put it on, and all together and they would be really happy. So I think that's where the satisfaction really came from, more so than what a celebrity would, because if you dress a celebrity, it's just another day.
It is.
But to someone who's coming into a store,
it's something special,
they would really light up. And like, wow, I love what you did there. So I came away from that feeling really rewarded, actually.
Okay, nice. Is there anything you have to kind of leave at home, either from two kind of questions in that, you know, being like, I've been with someone all day, either a celebrity or a person, I kind of have to shut that away at the door. I've had a really hard day. Also with social media is such a big thing nowadays, but also has a lot of backlash and a lot of, you know, mental health kind of difficulties. Is there anything you kind of have to leave at the door and turn your phone off at the end of the day and kind of...
I don't get that, unfortunately.
Okay, good.
That's well, I mean, it's kind of the deal you have to make with the devil.
True.
I think I've probably turned my phone off 4 times in 8 years, and that's 4 Christmases in 8 years.
Right, okay.
I am my business,
Yeah.
and, you know, it's one of those things I have to deal with, you know, so I wish I had more time to turn my phone off, but I can't. If I do that, I would lose business.
Yeah.
So it's just one of those things. So from a mental health point of view, it's not that healthy, and I'm very aware of that. So, you know, I wish I could just turn my phone off for a week and go on an annual leave, you know, like everyone else does, and have time to reset, but I don't. I'm literally constantly on my phone. I'm pretty much nearly 24 hours for my clients, so it's very full on. So it does take a toll on you mentally.
As we wrap up, and is there anything, I kind of want to leave on this.
Yeah.
Is there anything that you would want to say to your younger self who was, you know, either at university or in that office job? Is there any advice and any, you know, kind of reflecting on that? Is there any kind of rounding off, you know, this conversation? Anything you want to say to that person, whether you're proud or, you know, which I can imagine you are.
Yeah.
Is there anything you want to say to yourself in that sense?
Yeah. I'd say to my younger self, don't feel like you have to know it all or what you want to do, you know, leaving school. You know, you still got a long time to figure things out. If you want to start a business, that's great, but don't think like, oh, I have to start a business as soon as I leave school. If you know that is something you know clearly, go and do it. But if you're still figuring what that is, go and have some life experience. Go and work for someone else. Don't feel the need to go to university because, you know, nowadays you don't need to. You can go straight into work. Don't feel so much pressure. Not everything has to happen straight away.
Exactly.
Just gain some life experience. Be nice to yourself. Learn as much as you can. Put yourself around good people who support you and are doing healthy things.
True. Very healthy things. Nice.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Love it.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much for this conversation.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for watching today.
If you feel like you need additional support after the podcast, we've linked resources below.
Please like, share, subscribe, whatever you're listening to us on today.
And download our Hidden Strength app.